Hey, what's going on everyone? In this review, we'll be looking at the main villain suit from the Gundam Wing anime series, the OZ00-MS Tallgeese. Since we've already reviewed the Wing Gundam TV version, of course we have to take a look at the rival suit too, right? So as usual, we'll be reviewing this Master Grade model kit in 4 categories: the build, appearance, articulation, and the gimmicks. We'll be giving each a score from 1 to 5, so at the end we can tally it all up for an average score. Hopefully this review can help you decide if you should pick up this Master Grade. Okay, now let's get right into this build. With this being a fairly modern Master Grade, coming out in 2013, this kit has a complete inner frame. On top of that, because this isn't your typical MS design, the engineering of this inner frame is really unique. The build for the legs specifically was really interesting because of all the moving parts around the knee. Same for the elbow. More experienced builders will really enjoy this build. Everything on this model kit is pretty stable too, with me only needing to add glue for this gray piece on the head with the mohawk and these little ankle guards that have a tendency to pop off. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of painting to do on this kit though. First up are these red dots on the waist and chest. You get stickers for them, but if you've got a red Gundam marker on hand, it's almost easier to just paint them instead. After that, there are these gray dots on the top of the thrusters, which also come as a set of stickers. They can be a little bit more tricky to paint though, since there isn't a hard to find edge for them, so I decided to stay with the stickers here. Next, you need to paint these small wings on the thrusters. They come in all white, so you need to paint both this yellow and gray section. It's actually pretty easy, since there's a panel line separating these sections off. You do get stickers, but they have to fold around the wing, so you just know they'll pop up in no time. Lastly, you need to paint his visor blue. Yeah, it comes in straight up clear and there is no provided sticker. You're supposed to use a clear blue, but all I had on hand was this dark cyan color, so that's what I went with. Overall, I really enjoyed this build. The engineering here was really interesting, especially in comparison to the by-the-number builds of the other Wing Master Grades. However, there's some mandatory painting to do, and there's a few more stickers than I'd like. Still, I'll give this build a respectable 4 out of 5. While a beginner could build this kit, the unique engineering makes it more of a treat for experienced builders. Alright, now let's see how his appearance fares. The Master Grades of Gundam wingsuits are usually based off their Katoki-based redesigns, rather than how they appeared in the TV anime, and this Tallgeese is no exception. Thankfully, however, the Tallgeese was originally designed by Katoki anyway, so in redesigning this suit, he really didn't make too many changes. All you need to do to get this guy like 99% anime accurate is to replace the light gray with a darker shade and to repaint all the yellow trim with pure white. It'd honestly be a pretty quick paint job. Part of me wants to go ahead and do that, but really, I love the colors the way they are. The white just pops, and I really like the contrast of the light gray. The yellow is also perfect with just the right amount of orange mixed in. It's also used sparingly enough to not distract you, you know? The dark blue also really spices up this inner frame. Even better, outside of those red and gray dots, there's no needless details or panel lines. Bandai just took the line art and brought it into 3D. I love it. The proportions are great here as well. With this being a Katoki designed suit, you'd expect it to have long legs, and sure enough, it does. But it's offset by the heft of these shoulders and thrusters. It's a really interesting silhouette. You get 2 sets of decals for this kit. The first is dry transfer, and consists of red trim and the model number I added to the shoulder. The second is peel and stick, and has the rest of the caution signs as well as the logo for the shield. I would have liked this logo to have been dry transfer, but it's not that big a deal. As usual, I skipped the bulk of these, decided to go for a more anime based look. Okay, and that's it for the appearance. Simply put, I love it. I don't think you're going to find a better looking Tallgeese in model kit form, and yes, I'm including the real grade in that one. I'll give this appearance a perfect 5 out of 5. He looks just as regal as he does in the anime. It's so great. Next, let's take a look at his articulation. As always, let's start at these feet. You get a little movement from the toes, but the main movement comes from the ankle connection, which is a double ball joint. Thanks to that joint, you can pretty much move these feet anywhere you want. These guards do have a tendency to fall off though, so you might want to glue them on. The knee bend gives you a little bit more than a 135-degree bend. The thigh armor is just too thick for that full 180. The hips are somewhat of a cross between the older polycap on a peg setup and newer style swivels. You get amazing kicks forward, but the spins and sideways movement are a little bit limited by the skirt armor. Speaking of the skirt armor, you really don't get much out of them since they're attached to the legs. The chest makes great use out of its 2 ball joints. You get some pretty good spins, but it's really all about these ab crunches. I mean, this is just amazing. The shoulders here are really intricate. They have an amazing pop out that allows for some really great movement even with this massive armor. Unfortunately, this complexity lends it to kinda sagging over time, so you'll want to stay on that. The arms themselves, like the knees, get a little bit more than a 135-degree bend. This connection can be a little weak too, so you might want to be careful with it. The hands feature interchangeable fingers with a thumb on a ball joint. Honestly, I've always hated this style of hand because it makes changing weapons a real hassle. It's just far too easy to lose one of these fingers and just never be able to hold one of the weapons again. Still, they work great for keeping the weapons held securely, and they're better than the old style trigger finger split. Now onto the head, which gets a little bit more than you would expect, but it's still a pretty large piece on a single ball joint. He can look up and down pretty well though, thanks to an extra hinge in the chest. Lastly, the thrusters are on a swivel, so you can spin them, and that's really about it. Still, I'd rather have a secure connection with limited movement than some ball joint that would sag over time. That about wraps up the articulation. It's pretty solid for such a unique built suit. I'll give this articulation a solid 4 out of 5. While you aren't going to get anything too crazy here, you still have a lot of options. And finally, let's take a look at these weapons. First up is this lengthy rifle called the Dober gun. It's about as tall as the suit itself, and it looks really great even without the silver trim I added. Of course, with the butt of this gun being so long, you're really not going to get any crazy poses out of it. You can shoot forward and a little bit to his left, but that's about it. Also, you need to paint this lens blue, since it just comes in clear. Inside this gun though, there is a small spring that allows you to push the barrel in, like it's recoiling after a shot. It's kind of a pointless feature, but cool nonetheless. Next is this elegant shield. I love the look of this thing. It's just so simple, yet it has enough detail to be recognizable. Remember, if you're going for anime accuracy though, you're going to want to repaint this yellow trim white. Both of these weapons attach to the shoulders using a series of ball joints and hinges. It's pretty cool, but they're a bit finicky. It's kind of hard to describe, but you have to maneuver them in very specific ways. Regardless, I'm a sucker for kits that allow you to store the entire arsenal on the suit. Finally, you get the token beam sabers. Unlike the Wing Gundam, however, you get 2 handles to go along with these 2 blades. You can store them both on the back of the shield, so like the Dober gun and the shield, they're always on hand. As for the gimmicks of the suit itself, the main one is the opening of these thrusters. You just pull this wing and then fold them open. They look absolutely phenomenal. Just remember to paint up this yellow and gray. You can also open up this set on the back skirt. Lastly, there's something about moving the face mask inwards to make it look more like a Gundam face. Or at least, that's my understanding from my very limited Japanese skill. Really, I can't tell a difference though between inwards and out. Honestly, I think it's way cooler that you can remove this mask entirely to reveal the head of a Leo. Okay, so to sum up all these gimmicks, they're just great. Everything it comes with works phenomenally, and the ability to store everything on the shoulders is just awesome. I'll have to give the gimmicks of this kit another 5 out of 5. Plus it's got weird gimmicks like the spring in the gun and the face mask. It's really those weird little additions that bump up the score, you know? Okay, now let's wrap this up for a final verdict. The build was a 4 out of 5. The engineering is really interesting, but there was a little bit more painting than you'd expect. The appearance was a perfect 5 out of 5. It looks great as it is, however converting to anime colors would be really easy. The articulation got another 4 out of 5. You can do some cool poses, but it isn't anything too crazy. And the gimmicks received a second 5 out of 5. It comes with the weapons you'd expect, plus a few interesting gimmicks. Tallying all that up, dividing and of course rounding, this Master Grade receives a 4.5 out of 5, or a 90%. Coincidentally, that's about the same score as the Wing Gundam. Of course, while this kit has a slightly weaker build, it makes up for it with a great appearance and really interesting gimmicks. If you're a fan of Gundam Wing and you're also into Gunpla, these 2 kits would be a great place to start. Now, if we could only get the Tallgeese 2 and 3 as regular releases, right? Okay, feel free to leave any questions or comments you have about this kit below, and I'm more than happy to get back to you. You can also follow me on Instagram at redheadphone6, where I post updates, work in progress builds, the whole thing. Alright, thanks for watching, and see you next time.